I want to tell you about the most powerful sales tactic that I have learned. I never learned it from a book. I actually learned it by accident. It's the concept that you can do as a salesperson to gain trust.
Today, we're going to be looking at Alex Hormozi's sales training. And a few of my reps have sent this to me and they've asked the question. They've been like, Caleb, should I be doing this? Is this right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to run through the framework. I'm going to tell you exactly what to copy, what to skip, and what's getting a prospect to ghost you. If you don't know me, my name's Caleb Desai. I've been a sales trainer for the better part of 10 years now. My clients have done millions of dollars in deals and typically double their close rate within 30 days. So let's dig into this video and see what we can learn today.
Stumbled into this. I ended up selling 100% of people after I made this one switch in how I sold. And I was able to teach it to people who had never sold before, and they were able to close 80, 90% of people who were coming in.
I mean, even that is a little bit misleading. So one of the things that I've noticed about close rates is people are like, I close 50%, 100%. One of the things they don't actually talk about is what was the quality of the marketing that led to that sales call. So you can be a fantastic closer and a fantastic business salesperson, but if you're selling to people who don't know you, you've got a poor brand, they have just literally clicked on an ad and then shown up in your calendar, the likelihood of you closing 80 to 90%, even 100% of those people is just like, it's not. So this is very inflammatory, designed to make you feel like you're not closing enough. The reality is if you have cold traffic, you don't have a massive brand like Alex Hormozi does, and your marketing is not super sophisticated in terms of a nurturing process that moves people through the education spectrum, where they go from problem aware to problem unaware, etc. Eugene Schwartz's model, then you're not going to be closing at 80, 90%. So this is just the first thing I just want to flag. This is very guru-ish.
So rewind the clock. I was selling supplements at my gym, and the way that we would sell supplements is that we'd sell some sort of service package, and then we'd do a nutrition orientation. When they came for the nutrition orientation, we'd actually, set them up with their meal plans, and then we'd make recommendations for products. We'd killed this launch for like a new challenge or something, and we had 100 new customers that were supposed to come in, and I ran out one of the key products. I had ladies come in the first half of the day and able to get the products. And then some of their friends who signed up with them came in the second half of the day and were like, hey, my friend Sandy told me that I need X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, we don't have Z anymore. And it was like really awkward. And I was like, shit. A lady came in. And so rather than me try and skirt around this clear item that was on the list that I didn't have, I said, hey, by the way, you can get this one for cheaper down the street at Costco. So like, you don't need to get this one from me. Like, this one's a little better, but I think it'll get the job done. You can get this one after you're done the program. And they were like, oh, thanks. Like, that was cool. After I made that one cross out, I was like, but you do want this and this from us. And they're like, okay, cool. As soon as I made that switch from saying, hey, you don't need to buy this one, you can get that from over there, everyone bought what I recommended afterwards. And I was like, whoa. And so I gave her a recommendation of 2 things that she could get for cheaper. And then I said, you don't need to worry about this. What that gave birth to was something that I call ghost products because it sounds better. But I ended up over time not even carrying the products that I had on there that I was recommending out because they were so powerful as a sales tool for me to gain trust from the other person. This is an incredibly, incredibly powerful tactic.
It's also debatable how ethical that is. To say you're just not actually having the product and then telling someone to go somewhere else. Like, this is the other thing I've noticed about selling is you're going to have your own personal line around what is tolerable and what is not tolerable. And so these kind of fake trust building things really set me off the other way. I don't love that. A lot of the clients that I work with don't love that either. This is not a conversation about whether or not this works. Like, it clearly works, but this is, does this work for you? Like, are you going to be the kind of person who can look themselves at the mirror knowing that you deployed something like this that was, ethically dubious, allegedly?
All persuasion, the difference between manipulation and help is intention. And so if you want to help someone, you are manipulating them, but you're just doing it in a positive intent. Now, and if you change someone's behavior and you have negative intent, you are manipulating them. If you believe in the stuff that you sell, you can create an environment where someone will trust you faster by giving them a reason to trust you. And so that means that you acted in their self-interest rather than your own so that they can feel like you're not trying to take advantage of them.
This is actually a really good point regarding the idea of manipulation. So one of the things that happens a lot when I'm speaking with founders, business owners, salespeople, is they have this perception of like, I don't want to manipulate other people in order to buy something, which is a fair thing to say, right? And we see this chat on our ads all the time. You've got all these people talking about sales is sleazy and all this kind of stuff. The thing is, like, number one, it doesn't have to be, but what Hormozi has said quite accurately is it's the intent that matters. And this is something that, again, you're going to find your own flow with, is you're going to find your own alignment around what you are and aren't willing to do when it comes to these kinds of things. And for most people that I speak to, they actually do slide too far to the left, where they're not actually, by left, I mean too far to one side of the spectrum, where they're not actually selling themselves enough. And so every time we ask you to sell something, you are going to feel like it is challenging your existing belief systems. We don't need to get you selling all the way at a Hormozi level, but we need to get you selling more, selling yourself, offering services that you currently are. And so one of the best ways that I believe we can do this is we use something called the consult method, which is basically a really simple framework, not a script, right? So a framework that you just tick boxes where you're getting clarity on what somebody's reality is that they're experiencing right now versus their expectation of where they thought they would be by now. And one of the beautiful things that happens when you actually sell this way and you uncover somebody's current painful reality that they're willing to share, that you don't have to kind of jab and poke to get it out, versus their ideal outcome, their ambitious outcome, their North Star, if you will, is that they will feel more compelled to want to actually solve that. And so this is selling with the human behavior, as opposed to trying to force people into doing something that they don't want to do. So it sort of, in short here, this is a really important piece to understand about manipulation and intention. Is like, sales is not necessarily manipulation if you do it within your own value set and if your intent is correct. So for example, like if you're a real estate agent selling a home and these people need a home, then it's in your best interest to sell the home. It's in their best interest to get the home. So whatever you're doing within that context, as long as you're doing things that are truthful, that are within your value set, because it's the other thing, right? You feel okay with that, then you're not going to cross that line into manipulation.
If you feel uncomfortable about not having the product on your menu, then feel free to carry a product and never sell it if you feel like it. But I realized quickly that I was never selling it and I was always giving those ones away. And so if you're going to use this tactic, my recommendation is to make the products that you send across the street to be the ones that are the lowest margin product. Gain the trust by giving away the low margin stuff, and then keep the high margin stuff for yourself so that people trust you and then they buy that stuff. And so if you're in an environment where you sell multiple products, this has been the most effective way that I've learned to sell. What you want to do is give someone a vision of what their life's going to be like when they're experiencing the benefits. And so you want to explain to them exactly how to take it before you make the ask. What we would do is say, hey, this one is going to help you do benefit. The way that I need you to take it, is that you're going to take 2 of these in the morning. Then I ask a question. And I'm like, what do you do every day no matter what in the morning? Do you wake up and smoke a cigarette? Do you drink a cup of coffee? Do you take a shower, like brush your teeth? Like, what's something you do every morning? And then they say, well, I brush my teeth every morning. I'm like, cool. So I don't want you to put this in your cupboard because you'll forget about it. I want you to put it next to your toothbrush so we don't have to make a new habit. And they're like, oh. And what I want you to do, piece of tape, put a 2 on it. I want you to take 2 of them. We're gonna put an extra toothbrush. Got it? That's number 1. I would go through that with each of the products that I have, and I would say, okay, you can have all these. You're good to go. Did you just want to use the cards you have on file? Now they don't have to take their wallet out. They don't have to make another purchase decision. They just have to say yes. It's a one-click upsell.
This is pretty cool. This is pretty legit sales related ideas, essentially, especially not getting them to make another decision, because decision fatigue is a real thing, right? If we ask people to make too many decisions in the sales call, then they have to make another decision at the end. It creates a sense of friction, which makes it harder to close that deal. The other thing here, it's also borrowed from the marketing world. I can't remember the name of the marketer, very successful direct response marketer, where he said that you can't get someone to take an action that they haven't already imagined themselves doing in the first place. So if someone can imagine taking the supplement, i.e., when you are brushing your teeth, imagine taking the supplement, it's much easier for them to take that action now because they have already seen themselves doing it. So there's a real masterful part of this, which how practical is it for a consulting? Maybe not massively powerful and relevant, but in this scenario, it's a pretty cool tactic.
product with something they're already doing. Getting someone to make a new habit is incredibly difficult. Getting someone to break a habit is incredibly difficult. And so we just want to piggyback on habits they already have.
From a human behavior perspective, that's incredibly accurate. Like, it's very, very difficult to install new habits in your prospects. And it's very, very hard to break them. But if you can intercept them, or I think it's from the book, Atomic Habits, where you find existing habits that the prospect has and you can put your product inside of that, then it's more likely that they will follow through and do that, which is important for selling supplements. The relevance to selling consulting or high ticket services here is not massive because your service isn't typically a habit. So yeah, we just take what we can from this.
That kind of selling process, that set, close, gain the trust, make the prescription, works unbelievably well. And then if for some reason the person's like, well, how much does this cost? Blah, 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 blah. Then you can say, well, are you on a budget? And if they're like, I'm on a budget, that's like, okay, then would you like me to order these in order of importance and the things that I think you absolutely need to have versus things that'll just get you more benefits?
This is incredibly powerful, the way that he phrased that. So he's included what we call a presupposition, which is, would you like me to include these in the order of what you need to have? Now, this sounds subtle, but what he's done there is he's asked a question that implies that they need to have them. Would you like me to order these in the priority of which you need to have? And so if the prospect accepts that question, they accept that they need to have them. So they've shifted from a non-buying decision to now making a buying decision. And so this is incredibly powerful what he's done here with that.
Well, are there things that are your old identity that you're going to stop doing as a result of doing this program? Are you going to go out less? Are you going to drink less? Are you going to smoke less? Are you going to whatever less? I'm like, cool. Well, how much of that do you do? Cool. We just found some money. Don't worry about it. Let's associate it with these new activities, new identity.
So what he's just done there is really powerful in the sense that it's shifting the prospect from resourceless to resourcefulness, which is a frame in sales where we're moving them out of the thinking of, I can't afford it, and we're moving them into the thinking of, how can I afford it more specifically? And this is incredibly important because most of the time, if we're selling something high ticket, what the prospect is thinking about in terms of money is, what do I have to pay today based on what is in my bank account? So when somebody says it's too expensive, what they're actually thinking about is what you're asking me to pay relative to what is in my bank account. There's a mismatch there. Or what is available on my credit card. There's a mismatch there. And so what he's done here with this frame is he set it up in a way which is, it's not about the resources, it's about the resourcefulness. So if you're spending $100 a week on alcohol, we could shift that into spending it onto supplements and relating back to the core problem that they said that they would have. And so if we use like a service-based example, let's say you're an agency and this person is spending, like $200-$300 on a social media marketing person that's not really doing anything, right? And they say it's too expensive to pay your $2,000 retainer. So you could say to them something along the lines of, so let's look at these other services that you're doing that you probably won't need anymore, right? So you don't need to be doing this social media marketing, girl. You won't need to have these random campaigns that either perform or they don't perform, etc. Like you might spend $700 on a campaign, get 0 leads because you don't know what you're doing. So right there's about $1,000 a month. So the real cost to you is around $1,000. Does that seem more reasonable? And so it's about shifting them out of this resourceless of, I can't afford it, into, how can I afford it?
At the end of the day.
Yeah, no. Don't do that. That's, we can smell that stuff a mile away, right? Like we just instantly recognize that, where a salesperson said to you, yeah, look, you don't really need that. Or like, the boss will kill me if I do that. Don't do any of that stuff. That's just old school, gross. And if you do, totally fine. Go do you, boo, but we don't do that here.
The goal as a salesperson is to move to their side of the table. If you start the conversation across the table, the goal is to end shoulder to shoulder so that you're both looking at the decision together with the same information to make the best decision for the person. And so if you can walk yourself around the table psychologically, this is one of the fastest ways to do it.
So what he just said then, that was incredibly powerful, which is sales is ultimately around getting on the other side of the table. And when I talk about this with my clients, we talk about it as you start on different sides of the room. And we take this even further where we say the more that we talk and the more that we pitch, the person moves further away. So if you imagine you're standing on one side of the room and the prospect is standing on the other side of the room, and you're saying, you should buy this because and this and this and this, they're just taking a step back, a step back, a step back. Whereas if you go, so what do you need? What are you looking for? What's going on at the moment? What happens if nothing changes? What are you looking to achieve? Why does that matter to you? Why is it important? What do you need from us, etc.? All of these types of questions, and they do the talking, but they're coming closer and closer and closer towards you so that you can, at the end, stand side by side to each other. So I really love that. It's a really great way to end. There's some great stuff in here. There's some not so great stuff in here. It'd be really interesting to hear your takeaways. If you have any notes, any comments, just drop it down below. And I believe YouTube thinks that this next video is the right one for you. We'll see you in the next one.